Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Hello.
Hello. How
Hello.
are you?
Good day.
How are things?
Good. Things are good. Just keep moving along. That's my motto. Keep going, keep going, keep going. No matter how many bumps or bruises I get, keep going. Yes. Get up and take another step. So it's all right. And I'm okay.
Awesome. It's awesome.
You start seeing me in bubble wrap.
Well, then we'll just smile at you and know that you're on a journey.
That's right. That's right.
It's funny that you say, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, how are things with you?
Well, then it was divine timing because it just happened at the same time. That's all.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you said bumping into things. I find it interesting. There's things when triggers come up, really, and triggers can be in so many different ways. So I haven't talked to one of my family members for a long time. And recently he's been going through his things and kind of giving out my mom's things. And it hit me emotionally, like it really hit me. And at first it was like, it wasn't because he was getting rid of the things. It was because now I had to look at these things and recognize that my mom is not here in the physical. And it was so interesting because my mom transitioned 8 years ago, about approximately. And here I am. Huh?
She shows up all the time too.
She shows up all the time. So it's not like this is anything new, right? So here I am trotting along, everything, I'm having an awareness of my thoughts and what my actions are, and then witnessing that action. And it doesn't matter if I'm mad or sad, or it doesn't matter about any of those things. But to go along on this journey, and then I recognized that I had that emotion. My first response was to go to that emotion and be like, he's getting rid of those things, right? But that was like a quick little. I saw it and I was like, that's not. But that doesn't even ring true for me. I know it's deeper than that. And then to recognize, because it's so easy to go along life and things can seem like they're all normal, and they are. I mean, what is normal? But my kind of normal. And the thing is, we play tricks with ourselves, I think, a lot of times, and I know that I have too. And it was easier for me to recognize that my mom was still here. I just wasn't talking to the other person, and so we just haven't had any communications. No big deal. But when it comes time for that separating of that stuff, and then and I didn't beat myself up for it either. When I had this, I sat here and cried. Freeman encouraged me to feel through this emotion, which I just totally did, because it totally blindsided me. Why? It's been 8 years. Well, because now I feel like energetically, this person didn't have the emotional faculties to even process the emotions that he was going through with her transition. He wasn't. So at that time, it was always stated like, well, yeah, I see that you're crying and you lost your mom, but I've lost my partner. I lost this. It was always, and it's not because it was a bad thing. I'm not pointing at this person saying this person was a bad person. I'm just saying this person could only digest whatever they could digest in this lifetime at that time. And if that was the way that he was handling it, okay. It was not for me to judge, but for whatever reason, I didn't grieve at that time, not that much. And to me, I just felt like that was a normal process until this experience happened. And I recognized that I had stuff within inside of me. It was a trigger that came forward. And it was so amazing afterwards, because then I saw, as I'm going through this process, I see my mom lean over and kiss Jim on the forehead. And then my brother is right there. So it was such a cool thing to go through this process. And if I had pushed those emotions away and tried not to deal with what was going on right then, because I already had it figured out, but didn't. It's so awesome. But that's how it's amazing, because that's how grief can show up. And then, of course, my client that comes in the following morning, she had just lost her mom in October. And I say lost because we use those terms for the transition of someone back into spirit. But it was so amazing because she's gone through a journey. And so when Jim transitioned, I buried myself right into it, and I felt all the things as much as I could. And I say that I felt all the things because that's not 100% accurate either. we can only handle what we can handle. And at that time, I couldn't talk to a lot of his family members because it wasn't right. It just didn't seem right because he was the one that talked to them. He was the in-between person. I was on the outside of the phone. He was on the phone or in the communication, and I would chime in, hi, and whatever. I wasn't the person. I wasn't that person. And so when I have those conversations, it's a reminder that that person's no longer here. There's a lot of places that I haven't gone to or traveled to because it's a reminder that that person's not here.
Yeah.
Such dualities and such ways that we try to protect ourselves, and that's okay. It just means that I wasn't ready to transform this. I wasn't ready to look at it. I wasn't ready to feel it. And you can only handle what you can handle. So I handled what I could handle. I dove right into it, but I never felt that way about my mom. And then of course I've recognized little things with my brother too, how we even put pressures on ourselves. So that's one of the things, like, well, you say you're going through these bruises. We go through these moments. It's not like we're living this, I mean, it is perfect though. I was going to say, it's not like we're living this perfect life, but it is perfect. It's just not, it's what is your idea of perfection? This is perfect for me because it allows me to no longer carry this stuff with me anymore. So it's just, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. So it's just, I just find it interesting, your word choices this morning. It kind of led right into it. So here we are.
That was a great segue, huh?
It really was. It really was. Fantastic.
Fabulous. And in that, when we ended our video last week, after recording, I shared with you about my grandfather showing up. Now, my grandfather transitioned like 26 years ago, and he shows up around me by bringing cigarette smoke into the environment, not actual smoke, but the scent of it. And I mean, it gets strong. Just like, okay, grandpa, because it really does. It bothers me physically, the sinuses and the throat and my eyes will actually burn, even though there's no smoke in the room. The scent of it, and it will actually give me that burning sensation in my eyes. And so typically he shows up in that way when something heavy is coming, or I'm starting to decline emotionally, meaning I'm starting to dip into sadness or depression or something. So it is very evident when he's around me. And I appreciate it because I have a very strong personality. But on March 1st is his transition date. And I was sitting there, and my husband and I were watching a series, and one of the characters says, on June 30th, 1990, and he's telling this story. And when somebody says dates or numbers, I quickly process, okay, what does that mean to me? Why did I hear that? Well, here we are on March 1st, my grandfather's transition date, and June 30th is my grandparents' anniversary date. And I was like, and he had already, his cigarette smoke scent had already been around me for like a week by the time that happened. And so, they don't leave. They're always here. It's the material. So our memories get triggered, right? By a song, by seeing somebody, by a material object, their clothes hanging in the closet. And a lot of people will hold on to all those material things, especially the clothes, right? They just leave them in the closet because it's like an idea that this is the finale. Like if I get rid of them, that actually means they are no longer here. And then there's, it can trigger some guilt about the relationship, or how maybe the last words you said to them, or how the relationship ended, whatever. Sometimes it's through a medical thing where, oh my gosh, I could have done something more. And so it is when it comes to the material, because we're human and we see those tangible things, that when we are removing them from our environment, then it's yeah, they're not here anymore. It's like a actual realization, but we both know they're always here. They're always here. We always talk to them. We just don't have that physical touch. But I mean, they show up in our dreams. They show up in synchronicities and signs and numbers. So, but you do have to feel the emotion and let it move as well, because if you stifle that emotion and push it into your body, at some point it is going to get triggered and it's going to come up, and then you're going to think that it's the person standing in front of you that triggered you, that did this to me, right? Blame, you did this to me and now I'm a mess, when really they're just showing up to move some of that energy, that emotional heaviness in you, to help it come up and out. But there again, depending on your mindset and where you're at with yourself and your perspective, you might remain that victim to your life circumstances and continue to blame other people. Or you might be in the space now where you can say, you know what, I'm really interested in how I am getting triggered and why I'm getting triggered, and what can I do about that? So I want to take responsibility and interest, take an interest in yourself. That's what I always think. I'm like, be interested in yourself. Why did you show up that way? Why did you get triggered in that way? Why did you react in that way? And just really be interested in yourself so that you can be and do better in society. Because when you're doing and being better within yourself, it's just so easy to pour that out into others. But those people that show up and trigger you, you want to point the finger and blame them, and you keep doing that, then nothing is going to change within yourself.
Yeah, it's almost like you're trying to get the attention drawn off of you and onto somebody else. So because you can't deal with it right now, so I'm going to put it all on that person. It's all their fault.
Right. And that would be
now I can go forward.
That would be similar to you if you were like, oh my God, I can't believe he's getting rid of this stuff. What is he thinking? How could he? And he's, if you go into this whole story about it and get really upset about it and hang on to that, and you're pointing the finger at him, there's no healing for you.
No, I'm just distracting myself from myself. And I wouldn't have known it was there without this happening. I would not have known it was there. And I recognize it, and I didn't act like, oh God, you're stupid. Why are you acting like this? It's been, your mom's been transitioned 8 years. You talk to her all the time. Like she's always here.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. We just don't know those things. And then they come up, and it's not bad. To me, that wasn't bad. That's amazing. To me, it's like, wow. Got out the microscope and look what I found. Didn't even know it was there. Like,
right.
I don't need it. I mean, it's not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And I got triggered. I've been triggered over the past couple of days. I've shared, I've been focusing on improving our financial situation, and it's sometimes you get triggered about that. And I did to release some emotion yesterday about it. So, and it's like, spirit knows when it's time for this stuff to come up. And when it comes up, because you're going to meet the right people that are going to trigger you. They're going to be like, push that button, and you're going to get emotional. And it's like when we're ready. So, if you would have went through this 8 years ago, you would have been a completely different person, in a completely different space with yourself, a different space with that person who's getting rid of the stuff. And would have been it might have been a shit show, like yelling and screaming and, anger and all this craziness. But it wasn't. It is what it is right now, in a way that you can move through this. Even though you got emotional, you went through it with much more ease than you would have 8 years ago, 7 years.
Yeah. And the emotions, it was just the perfect divine timing for it to roll out. You had said something about when they transition and stuff, we don't feel them physically, but we can feel them physically. It won't be the same as a hug, but if we ask, maybe you don't know, like maybe you don't know what your loved one's energy feels like. Ask. It's even Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael, I'd love to feel what your energy feels like. I'd love to get closer to that energy. I'd love to get to know that energy. And it helps, if that's going to help you find yourself or know yourself, remember yourself, then it's all the stuff happens. All of it. Now, a couple things came up when this stuff showed up for you, for your grandfather. Is there someone that's alive? Is your grandma still alive?
No, she transitioned like 12 years ago or so.
And now, is there a family member that really holds on to a lot of that stuff? Because it's almost like a message, right? It's not even, it could be for you, but it also could be for more, right? It's just hearing those messages because you smelled the smoke, and then all of a sudden you hear the date, so you know exactly whose date that is, and it's almost as if you're going to have a conversation with somebody else and be like, oh yeah, well, he's been around. This is what happened. Oh, I was just thinking about him or about them because I know their anniversary was coming up, or you know what I mean, something along those lines. It almost feels like there's more to it than that. The feeling of all that stuff.
And well, like I said, he showed up about a week before his transition date of March 1st, so like the end of February. So I'm just open because he has this strong energy. I know he's like one of my protectors and guides. And when he shows up with that cigarette smoke, I'm like, I just take a deep breath every single time. I'm like, okay, Grandpa, something's coming. I know it's coming. I know you're bringing your energy in. I know I got to be strong about something. And I just take it moment by moment. And it's whatever comes. I know it's like I'm already internally prepared. I've already put on my suit of armor, so to speak, my battle gear. Not that I'm fighting anything, but just that preparation of, okay, whatever's going to come, I know I'm already supported. He's already showed up, even though he doesn't need to show up in that way. And I can always call on him. It's the preparation. Something's coming, something's going to happen, something. So I just roll with it now. I mean, back in the day, in my teens and 20s, I've shared this before, that I would get a gut feeling. And then actually it's either like in my gut or like a pressure in my chest. And sometimes it's so strong, like I have to cough. And every time I had something like that happen, something bad would happen like within 24 to 48 hours. Every single time I got so mad. I was like, why is this happening? Why do I get, and just asking all the questions. And it was I finally had a mentor where psychic medium mentor who I could ask this question of, and she goes, no, that's your gift, that whatever is coming or whatever is going to happen, because you are so strong in moving through like I can handle an emergency situation, no problem. It's the afterwards when it settles down, then I have my breakdown. So she's like, no, you're so strong in your how you show up in situations that it is a preparation. They're letting you know something's coming, and it's for you to, it's like stand in your power, stand in that strength. And it doesn't mean it's for me. Like it could be maybe something happens to one of your family members. I'll get that sensation, and I'm like, okay, something's coming. And so I just mentally prepare myself for a phone call, for whatever. And then, similar to Jim's transition, we talked on the phone, you're like, oh my, he passed. And I'm like, okay, so it's like when I get the message physically from somebody that something, then I know. But prior to that, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm just open to, all right, well, whoever contacts me, I know that's what I'm here for, or I'm there for them.
Gotcha.
And so, but the closer the person is to me, the stronger the sensation is. That's my discernment, right? And I
Okay.
how to read that sign within my body, and learn how to associate how distant or how close the person is to me. So, um, so yeah, that's how it works for me.
Yeah. And you got a date. I mean, it's not only was their anniversary date, but it's a date for something, you know?
Yeah, I just associated it that, a lot of times too, your loved ones show up around their anniversaries, their birthdays, your birthday, any celebrations, weddings, even funerals, parties. And so, showing up a week before, I was just took that deep breath and I'm just open to whatever happens. But then March 1st, his transition date, and then hearing June 30th, I was like, oh my gosh, he's just letting me know well, first of all, I already knew he was here. But he's letting me know, like, grandma's with him and they're just making this acknowledgement that they're together and on this day, so that's just how I processed it.
Nice.
But
I
they're
was
all,
just looking at my notes.
yeah.
Busted me.
I was like, pause. So I just, but you know what? Had I not been, even though we were watching TV, had I not been present to it, if my mind would have been somewhere else, I would have never heard that date or
True.
the association of what the day was of March 1st.
Yeah.
And so, even that's a celebration. Like, ooh, look, I was present to hear that. I got that message. Thank you.
That's awesome. It's cool.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think I find it now, it's more playful for me. Even when somebody transitions, there is the heaviness in the beginning that, they're not here. But I also am like, oh my gosh, that's one more person on my spirit team. And I can call on them. I have access to them. And I know they want to play. So it's like, let's be playful. How are you going to show up today? How are you going to make your presence known to me?
Nice. And that's fun. And that's the big deal right there too. It's playing. It's not taking everything so seriously.
Yeah.
I have, we have things in our lives that happen. My one of my daughters came up yesterday and brought both the grandkids, and we're out. We hiked up. We're talking a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. We hiked up a freaking hill, like up a hill. We're picking up trash and stuff like that. Just, randomly picking up stuff, but we're having a great day and we're laughing. It's great. And then we come back down and we all had smoothies and stuff. And we decided we're going to walk down to another place, which is for me, it's not a long distance, but for little legs, it's a long distance.
Yeah.
They walked it the whole time. Did they ask to be picked up a couple times? I'm like, yeah, but I had a backpack on and they had their backpacks on. So it's like, it wasn't really, the backpack probably weighed more than they did. So you hold the backpack and I'll hold, I just didn't, we just walked and I just said, we'll take more breaks.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we walked down to there, we have a big watering hole and it's like a huge, it's huge. It was, especially, it's drying up a little bit more now. But we walked down there because I wanted to walk down and see if there was any ducks. And I figured the kids would enjoy it. So we walked down there and stuff, and they're walking around and we're walking around. I'm like, oh, well, don't go that close to the water because first of all, we don't want to be in this water. But you can get close to it. We can look in it and everything else. And my grandson's walking through by it and nothing's happening. And all of a sudden my granddaughter gets stuck in there. Like she's wearing freaking sandals. So we'll take note of that too. She's wearing sandals with socks on. And so we're standing in this and she starts sinking down. Well, she starts screaming and panicking. I'm like, it's all right. I got you. Go to pick her up. I go to pick her up and it pulls off one of her shoes because she sunk down. She sunk down quite far and her shoe was not coming out. So I pulled her up and got her out of it. And I leaned forward to grab her shoe and I fell back into it. Now in the past, I would have lost my mind. That would have pissed me off. I'd have been so angry. And
Yeah.
I sunk down. I had leggings on and tennis shoes, and my tennis shoes now look like I was running around in mud shoes.
Yeah.
And it was up on my pants, and then I had it all over my butt. And then my daughter comes down because she's gonna wash off my granddaughter's shoe in the water. So she comes down, comes over and gets it, and then she gets stuck in the water. We're laughing so hard, like she's by the water, stuck in the thing. He falls on her butt, and we're just laughing so hard that you're almost like gonna pee your pants.
Yeah.
There was just the most hilarious thing, but it was because it was fun.
Right.
So it's however we want to look at things. That could have been the most traumatizing thing, because back in the day, that seriously would have pissed me off. I wouldn't
Right.
have found the humor in it, and everybody else would have laughed, and that would have pissed me off more because I wasn't finding the humor in it, right? Only for opportunities to find the humor in it, Bev. That's all.
Yeah.
But now I'm in this place, like even to play in the snow. I'm in this place it's life feels different. And that wasn't my goal to get to this where I'm at right now, but it's part of the journey, and it's part of celebration to know, hey, this is where I'm at on this journey right now. And this feels a lot better than I've felt for a big majority of my life. It felt a lot better than carrying around the anger as my protection, and keeping everybody else at arm's distance. And there's so many things I could look back on about myself, but now I'm seeing that I'm just becoming more playful about it because it's more fun. And it was the most excellent day ever. It really was. So amazing that we're going to do stuff again today. So I love spring break. I love that the kids are off. So we have an opportunity to play. And also, it wasn't just for me, and it wasn't just for them. It was for my daughter too. Like, because she's now experiencing a mom that she didn't have when she was growing up, because we weren't doing all these things.
Right.
Because I was grouchy and taking things seriously. So I can sit and beat myself up over that, or I can sit and think, God, wasn't this the most amazing day to have this day-to-day for all of us to have growth? Because all of us did. Here I got my Vivi freaking out because she's stuck and she's sinking, right? She thinks this is the end of the world, losing her mind. To us all laughing, and she doesn't, because she's like, well, we need to go back and wash. We need to go wash right now. And Colton's like, I want to play here. I want to play by the water. He just loved being right there. And for me, it felt good too. We could have hiked around over by there. And I didn't care that I was dirty. It just didn't matter. None of that stuff mattered. And eventually Vivi didn't care either. It didn't matter. So it's like this such a huge ripple effect in the pond, if you think about that in so many ways, how it affects everybody. And now I get to share the story because it was just the best day ever. It really was the best day ever. And it was simple. No plans, no attachments to an outcome. I didn't plan anything and have such expectations that we were going to be doing this all day, and it didn't go my way, and now I'm not happy and blah, blah, which I have experienced that a couple of years ago too. But it just goes to show how we move through our path. We think that we're not growing, and all of us are growing right now. All of us. Some might be in small little leaps and bounds as much as they can handle, and some are just growing like ridiculously, like uncontrollably. And that's all right, because we all balance out.
And at the beginning of your transformation journey, it is going to feel like small, tiny, itty bitty baby steps.
Yeah, you're right, but they were huge.
And then the more you practice, the bigger it gets, and it's all good, it's all relevant, it's all purposeful. But yeah, I love the ripple effect of the fact that you have this little girl who is probably learning about perfectionism and fixer and people pleaser and all those things, right? They've been handed down generation to generation. And now here, how old is she?
4.
Like 4, right? And so from 0 to 6 is our programming state. And to be able to flip that switch in that moment where she's having a freak out mode and everybody else is like, oh no, we got this. And then there's the hysterical laughing and it just really turned around. And so that in itself is huge, because in either direction, had you got pissed off and life went to shit because you got dirty as the adult grandma, everybody else would have felt that energy, and then it would have just been, well, let's just go back. We need to clean up. And it would just been aggressive, right? And uncomfortable and not fun. But instead, you just that ripple effect. And from there, it would have even affected the rest of the day, the evening into the next day. but instead you all decided to handle it in a more positive, playful way, and that ripple effect brought more ease and joy, and then that affects the rest of the day, the night, the next day, and on. And those kids are gonna remember that. Like next time your granddaughter has an incident like that, she might just have that memory triggered and be like, oh, it's okay, I can get out of this. We're not gonna die right now. We get out of this.
It's funny that you say all that stuff too, because it's a good reminder. It's a good way for me to look at things. And then Colton was like, you let us do everything. No, we just go out and have fun. We just do. It's not, but I didn't raise my kids that way. I did not have the time. I didn't make the time.
Right.
I can't say I didn't have the time. You know, we've talked about this. If you feel like you're running all the time, or if you feel like you don't have time, like, what are your words? What words are you using? I don't have enough time, or do I have plenty of time? I can finish. I've got all the time in the world. Like, it's how are you using your words, which is so huge. Last night I'm sitting there and I'm realizing I was talking about doing something, and I realized, how often do all of us say, I have to go to work. I have to babysit my grandkids today. Oh no, I can't do that. I have to go to this. No, I can't. I have to pay my bills. And how often do we say, I get to? We're freaking here. I get to be here. I get to pay my bills. I get to buy a brand new truck. I get to take care of my grandkids. I get to spend time with my grandkids. I get to, because what do we take with us when we transition from here? Our relationships. We don't take, I'm not going to take my glasses. I'm not going to, thank God. I'm not going to take my
dirty sneakers,
my coins, my cats. Like, I'll see you when you get there. Like, I'm not taking all the stuff with me. I'm not taking everybody with me when I go. So it's just, it's our words. And I have clients and they're on this huge, they're in the middle of this, you know, they're huge breakthroughs. They're in the middle of this huge growth, and it's like they're right there, and then all of a sudden they say, then they turn it around, and it's like, because that's where they're at. Now they're blaming somebody else, or they're, you know, well, that person's never going to be a good person. Even when they get over, they're going to have a lot to think about. And I know those conversations because I've had them.
Yeah.
You know, you wait till that person, they're so unevolved. You just wait till they get to the other side. They'll figure it out. They're going to see how bad they hurt us. And you know, all that kind of crap. And no, that's not what it's all about. That's not what it's about at all. I don't feel like it's about that at all. And I keep telling people, because I heard it and it resonates. But when we hold someone else in darkness, we hold ourselves there. If you're mad at someone, you're holding yourself in that same darkness, and it doesn't feel good. Yeah, well, they did this. Okay. And that's the response too. Okay. Well, you're right. You're right. That's been in your experience right now. Could it be different? It could. But this is where you're at right now. That you're right. You're not wrong. If you've got your own beliefs about things, believe me, I've had my own beliefs about things, and then along the way, just as simple as my mom, just as simple as I thought I was over all that. I thought I processed everything, and then here it showed up for me. I didn't even know it was there until something had to emotionally trip my trigger. I am beyond grateful for that emotional trigger. I really am.
Yeah.
Because I would never have known ever. I would never have known.
Yeah, I just had a similar conversation. I taught a Reiki 1 and 2 certification class the other day, and one of the students says, you know, I thought I was over that. I thought I probably just same thing what you just said. And I said, yeah, you did at that time from where you were. And she goes, things were going along so good, and now all of a sudden I'm got that. And I was like, yep, that's true too. Things are going to be like hard, and you're going to feel like you did this healing process, and you healed those things, and everything's good, and life's going along, and you're doing okay. I call that a plateau. Be grateful for those plateaus, because those are the moments when you get to take a breath, when you get to say, okay, I know I've shifted. I know I've changed. I know I'm doing better. And I appreciate where I'm at, right? You get into, you're just acknowledging that whole different new space, because it is from where you were to where you are. It's a new space. And so take those times to be grateful that life is good, because when spirit knows it's time for you to up level, you better strap in, keep your arms and hands, or hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, because here we go. And so things are going to come up. You're going to get triggered. Somebody does something, you know, and some kind of chaos breaks out around you. Something starts to stir you, where those heavy emotions that you have stored in your body get stirred up and start to come to the surface. And how you handle that is up to you. But you will say, more times than not, you will say, I thought I healed that. I thought I was over that. I thought that was done with that. And you were, with what you needed to do at that time. Now we're in a new space. Now spirit knows, your spirit, when I say spirit knows, your spirit knows it's time for a little more healing, a little more shifting, a little more changing, some up leveling within yourself. And you're going to move through that. And then you're going to have that breathe, that plateau again of that. It's like steps, right? And so you take a breath, relish in that moment, and who knows when it's going to happen. Then the next up level comes. And it is just a process for us to continue to be and do better. And this is a process that will happen if you choose, when you choose to step on a transformation journey. This is the journey. There is no getting away around it. There is no deviating from what I'm calling up leveling, just meaning being and doing better within yourself. You think you might be the most awesome, amazing person on this planet, and then somebody comes along who does something and you fly off. I call it being reactive. You get reactive in anger. Well, guess what, sister? That means you got some more healing to do. If you become judgmental and critical of others, guess what? That means you have some more healing to do. So the opportunities, just like Bev was saying, it's not that you have to, it's that you get to. And that get to is those opportunities to do that self-inquiry, to do your healing process, shift and change. And it's part of the journey. It's just part.
It is. And then you talked about judgmental. I had heard in an interview recently, they were talking about judgmental. The guy, I think it was a near-death experience, and they said something about, well, you're judgmental. And he's like, I am the last one that's ever judgmental. I never judge anybody. And they said, well, do you not judge those that
they were talking about racism.
They were. He says, do you not judge those that are prejudiced of others because they're being prejudiced? Then you're judging. So it's being neutral in all places. And then another way of judging, there's been recently, I saw myself a reflection. I have been dealing with my own stuff, so I don't talk about a lot of things, but I don't care anymore. I mean, I'm at this vulnerable place. I'm going to tell everybody everything. I don't have anything to hold back, but I'm standing there and I catch my reflection through my phone. And I noticed as soon as I caught my reflection, I was like, I looked away, looked back, and I'm like, well, that's not so bad, because I kept looking at myself and judging myself and thinking, oh my gosh, look at how you're aging. Look at your neck right now. Look at your face. And then, you get your phone that's down below you, like looking at stuff. It's like, this is not a view. Well, some people probably see that view, but not everybody sees that view. Right. I'm just saying, but here I was. I don't spend the time judging other people, but here I am judging myself. And I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Because if I'm judging me, then that means I'm not appreciating this vehicle that I'm in right now. I'm not appreciating me. And I'm also attached to everything else. Everything is love. How can I not love where I'm at right now? So again, I've been practicing the awareness of just being aware of my thoughts, being aware of what I'm thinking, being aware of what I'm doing. When I'm driving a vehicle, I'm aware that I just looked left and I looked right. What did I see? And I'm aware of my hands sliding across my steering wheel. When I'm turning, I'm aware that because how often have I driven around autopilot? Well, more times, probably more in my lifetime than I'm doing that I practice awareness so far. But practicing the awareness it's just really is huge. That brings you to right now all the time. You're always right now. And then you're like witnessing your thoughts. And it's not because the thoughts are bad. You would witness yourself the same way you witness someone else, neutral. You're neutral. You're just seeing what they're doing and how they're responding to something like that. It's just neutral. You have no expectation, no attachment to an outcome. You're not vested in anything. You don't have to like the way someone's doing something, but we can still be neutral. And being in that neutral space means that we're not going to hold on to it. There's no emotional trigger in that space. And that's nice too. It's just recognizing all these different aspects of this human experience while still being spiritual by having the awareness.
And if you get triggered, you know, people know. So, my husband does this too. People know, you know, you're on this transformation journey. They know you're doing things different. They know you're acting different. They know there's something different about you. And then, you know, when they ask and you share and you start talking more about spirituality and that, and then you get triggered and you're hanging out with them and you get triggered in some way and you react to whatever's happening. And then they look at you and they're like, well, that wasn't very spiritual. I'm like,
Your face.
yeah. So, you know, yeah, it is. You know why? Because I'm learning to be and do better. And that was just an indicator. That incident in that moment was just an indicator of where I'm at with myself. And you know what? It was probably 50, 60, 70 times better than the way I would have before in previous years have showed up. So yeah, you know what? My angry reaction in that moment absolutely was spiritual, because now I know I got some healing to do. Now I know where I'm at with this person or this type of situation or those kinds of words. I know now. And so I'm going to go back into my cocoon and I'm going to do my work, my internal work, so I can come out even more blossomed. And each time a situation similar to that, it's not going to bother me anymore. So every interaction that we have, every experience we have is spiritual in some form. It is how you're perceiving that experience.
Yeah, because I was never the perfect that I thought I was back in the day. Yeah. And I think it was the same interview. He was talking about, Alex had said something about how many faces that we show up with, or maybe, gosh, it might even been someone else that I listened to recently that Alex had interviewed, how many faces that we show up. We all show up different for work. We have a different face for work. We have a different face for church. We have a different face for the store. We have a different face, and not because we're bad, but because we learned from being children how to interact with each individual person and also each individual place.
People
instead of being our true authentic self.
Yeah.
So it's being vulnerable. It's being in those spaces. It doesn't matter. I'm at a place I could care less if anyone's judging me. I've done enough of it for myself, and I honor that because they're in their own journey. I've been there.
Nobody's
Sometimes I still visit.
Nobody's going to judge you more than you judge yourself.
It's true. It's true. Nobody, I mean, really, who has that kind of time?
Everybody is worried about themselves. Everybody is judging themselves. Everybody's concerned about how you're seeing them. And everybody's walking around in that same mindset. Nobody cares about you. You got to care about yourself.
Yeah.
And the fact is if they're judging you, they're judging themselves. Same goes for you. I'm judging you, I'm judging myself.
Yep.
There's healing to do there. So, but nobody will judge you more than yourself.
Ever.
That's the judgment, right? That's what I feel is the judgment. You know, they say you die and God's going to judge you. God ain't got nothing on what I already haven't said to myself. He couldn't say anything more to me about anything that I've done and what I've already judged myself for. So I'm good with God.
Yeah.
Because I know he loves me with where I'm at. And that's what matters.
It's true. It's just to not be in that space, not to, I mean, it's all right to be in that space. It's just to have the awareness as you're processing things. It makes it so much easier. It really does. And we're not alone. We're not alone. We've got so much help around us. And I can't prove that to anybody. You got to prove it to yourself. You got to go exploring. You got to start looking. And if you don't love yourself, how is anything else going to come into your experience?
Right.
To show you the love, because you're not allowing it.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is how about instead of judging yourself, you spend more energy and time and focus in loving yourself.
And if you don't know how, ask, how do I love myself?
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that feel like?
Yep. And it will be shown to you.
Yes. Now, will you allow the receiving? That's your choice.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest piece that people get hung up on is choice. Every decision you have ever made has brought us right here, right now, with you and I together, with whoever's watching this at whatever time they're watching this, on whatever day they're watching it. Every single thing is, so every interaction you have with every person, every choice you have ever made has brought you to that moment. Because of choices. And then they go, well, yeah, but there is no yeah, but every choice you made, I'm just going to repeat it. Every choice you made has brought you to where you're at right now.
And even some of the choices that you're making right now, you think that might have been bad choices at some time or another. You might look at those choices another time and realize that was the best choice to make for your growth.
Golden.
For your growth.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And that's perspective. So now when you can change your perspective about those choices and decisions that you've made and how golden they can be now, looking back, your story of your history changes. And I think that's important too, because, you know, I use the words victim and student. When you change your story about your history, you're no longer a victim to that. And you can take that information and move forward with more ease and grace. Right? The wisdom that you accumulate because you learned, you implemented what you learned, and then you keep moving forward. That's your wisdom that accumulates. And then you're going to make different choices and decisions as you move forward because you know the ones that you did make, they sucked in a sense, put you in situations that didn't feel good, but you learn from them. But as you move forward, you're going to make better choices and decisions because you're so much wiser. And I love that. I love that idea of that. And I would wish, especially women, would embrace that more, that they would turn their history into wisdom and embrace the wisdom that they have. I mean, if you think about, you know, Native Americans, they had the Council of Elders, and they have the groups of women that come together, and the women would counsel the younger, the girls, right? It was like that foundation. And it would be so amazing if we could get back to something like that, where women came together to bring their wisdom to the younger generations. As light workers, we're all doing that like individually. But when women come together in groups, freaking, we move mountains, man. We don't mess around, because you have all these talents, all these skills that collaborate, and we're like, let's get this shit done. We're moving this now, right? And that influence that we could have on younger women or girls, I think is phenomenal. So to have, you know, those circles, those wise women circles would be awesome.
I had a client in recently that's going through quite the awakening. And it's a male. It's a man that's going through all this stuff. And lost, and then being surrounded by a lot by females and stuff too, and them not understanding where he's coming from as far as the perspective on that. So there's a lot of stuff. There's so much awakening going on right now that it, I feel like it's overwhelming for each individual that's going through it or can be. And I feel like that the way that he was talking and stuff, it just kind of blew my mind because he's around my age or around our age. So to be going through the process that he's going through, it just kind of surprised me. It surprised me not because it's not possible, but because I got to witness it. It came into my experience. So I got to see it and hear the conversations, and then hear, how he's processing a lot of the stuff. And it's like I told him, I said, I'm just going to give you stuff that has resonated with me or what's coming forward right now, and giving him different advice how to move forward. But it's not, and again, it's almost like a fast forward. So like when we're going through this process, initially we don't want to be around anyone that's negative. You don't want it doesn't feel good to be around stuff like this. I told them what they can do to change, and they ain't changing, being around that space. But he's going through this fast forward time with all that all together at one time. It's interesting. We're in that time space, but I feel like more and more we're going to have more and more men and women, the full gambit, but everybody, it's nice because the person's open to receiving the information and is totally exploring it. Like he says, I never meditated a day in my life. And then now he says, I know how to meditate. I'm meditating he meditates after work, and he meditates before he goes to bed. So like all this stuff that's going on, it blows my mind where we're at right now. It blows my mind. It blows my mind because that's where we all fall into place. Everybody has this knowledge and that we're learning, and we know that because you're awake. It's not, we don't have to awaken more. We just keep having the awareness, and more stuff becomes present to us. We now know that it's always been there. It's that awareness. So it's awesome to see. And I've seen it with kids too, like young girl, like I have some young girls and stuff too, and a couple of young boys, so misguided, like they don't know which way to go anymore. And they don't know who to listen to, right? So right now, I feel like we're just in that space of guiding them, each and every one of them, into themselves. It's just, we're just looking and pointing because we've had some experiences already. And I'm thankful that my experience, I could say I'm very thankful my experience didn't come at this at the risk of, you could lose your relationships, you could lose, because it's so much is going on, and not necessarily if they need to be out of your life, but because you're growing and they're not at that space yet. And that's okay. It's to love them and still be in that space. I mean, as long as it's not an abusive relationship, it's to love them and be in that space. There's nothing wrong in the relationship besides you're changing your points of view, and our points of view change other people's points of view. Like you said last week, it gave you permission. You got permission to do things because someone else did it. And I'm the same. I feel like that we're all a lot similar to that. And I like that we get to make choices. Before, I didn't want to make choices. I wanted to find, I want my mom to answer the questions for me. I want my dad to help me out with that. I have to ask a few other people, what do you think about this? And to process that, and then make my decisions. And now I've learned, well, of course we have choices, and I like that I get choices. Before it felt like it was too much. Now it feels like, oh, well, the ball's in my court. I don't have to be the victim anymore, because I was a victim. I was a victim for a long time with a lot of different things, and I'm not anymore. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing how we've gone on this journey all along this way, and then how the people that are showing up right now, because I feel like there's so much going on. I keep hearing about the 20th of this month. We've got some huge transitions going with some energy, like huge. Well, we'll see what that looks like. We know this is introspection, so anything that's in the darkness is brought to the light. There's a lot of things that are going on that people are going to notice. But how wrapped up you want to get into it. Even having the conversation, we were talking about the 3D world and being in the 5D. Well, the 3D world might be, I'm worried about how am I going to pay for my rent? And the 5D reality realizes no matter what, everything's always working out for me. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to. I can if I want to, but we can go all the way back to, what words are we using? How are we keeping ourselves restricted from that? And you could sit and record yourself all day long and then go back and listen to the whole conversation, or we can just have an awareness and see where, oh gosh, I said I have to instead of I get to. I get to breathe this air. I get to take a walk. I get to wear shoes. I get to go without shoes. I get to get stickers. Like there's always opportunities.
And I also want to add in there the ripple effect of these conversations.
Oh, yes.
We wouldn't be having these conversations had we not done our process of healing and growing and expanding from our experiences, and all those experiences, choices, and decisions brought us to where we're here right now. And the ripple effect of everybody who's listening to these videos, how that goes out into their lives and the people that they talk to, or how they are examples of toward other people. It's just so dynamic, all of it. And it has so much effect on everyone. It's just so fun.
It is. You can't have one without the other. I mean, I really don't feel like we can, because that the diversity, right? We can't. When you see that, then I just want to love people more. I just love people more, instead of just being in that space of, oh, look what they're doing. They're such horrible people. No, just love them more. I know other people will be like, well, how can you love someone that's been doing all those things? Because it's not for me to judge them. They're going to have their time.
They're doing those things because they're seeking love.
Exactly.
I mean, really.
The crazy things, the temper tantrums, the wanting to be seen, the talking loud, there's all these little telltale signs that kind of let you know how you're feeling, where you're at, or where somebody else is at. And then when you're in that space, you're no longer having to judge them. When you're an empath, you're no longer having to push against whatever's pushing against you. You don't, because you get to see things differently. Life becomes easier. It really does. You know that already. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just telling everybody else.
Listeners.
It really gets easier.
But even so, when we come together every week and have these conversations, it's still, there's things that come up as a reminder, things that I need to hear in that moment. And I'm like, oh, yep, I needed to hear that. Thanks, Bev. Or, oh, yep, I needed to hear that. Thanks for saying that, Amy. I mean, even things I say, right?
Yes.
I practice it, but I still have those moments like yesterday. And then I'll say something. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was for me.
Nice. And I like that. And how do you know? Because you have an awareness of it. That's the difference.
Yeah. Big awareness.
And when you think that you have too much going on, you can't do this stuff. Well, okay, then you're right.
Yeah.
But when you realize it can be so much easier just by having a little bit of a awareness of yourself, oh my gosh, that's a miracle all by itself. I didn't want to have an awareness of myself. I didn't want to look at myself.
And just know, this does not mean there's anything wrong with you.
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong.
It just, here's the thing. If you don't feel good, if you're not doing things that feel good, then it's time to do something different. And that is an awareness. I want to feel good. I want to be around people that contribute to me feeling good. I want to have experiences that contribute to me feeling good. So I have to make different choices and decisions. That is called awareness. There's nothing wrong with you. Never has been anything wrong with you. There's a whole nother thing. You can go back and watch all our videos. You'll know. So we've covered all this already. Change the word to there's something wrong with me to I have this awareness. It doesn't feel good. And I'm ready to do something different. Super simple acknowledgement. And then you just start moving, changing, shifting in a different direction.
Love it.
Love it. I love it too. All right, my friends. If you didn't get anything out of this video, I don't know what to tell you, but
That's fine. You'll be back.
Thank you for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Any final words?
Have an amazing week.
Yeah.
Watch your words.
Right. All right, my friends. We'll see you next week.
Bye.